to keep your creative work safe and highly valued under the new tax regime. The new tax law has created widespread fear and confusion within the creative industry. This session is to separate the noise from the facts and to explain to freelancers, contractors, and media companies that their creative work is good, preserved, and there is no reason for them to fear, particularly if they just managing at least to do what is right. So what is the objective of this session? Number one, we're going to explain what creatives were already required to do under the previous law. That's the first thing we'll do. Number two, we'll highlight what has changed under the new tax regime. Number three, we will debunk certain things that people are saying that we feel are not true. And lastly, we'll provide practical steps that will help you protect your creative earnings and intellectual property, whether as a person or based on your business. Let's look at it really. Before I kind of enter into the tax law, the new tax law, what we're doing in the past, and it's important for me to explain that what the new tax law is really pushing for is pushing for accountability, enforcement, and data-driven things. Now, because in the past we were not coordinated with our data, people could manipulate a lot of things, but now that will change with the new tax, really. But I think for every creative person or people in the media and entertainment business, there's really nothing to worry. Because you yourself, you need to know the true worth of your creative work rather than you patching the books. Really. That's pretty, very, very important. So let's look at it. There's a popular folk story of a man, of a farmer, who needed a hand to support him in his farm business. So he interviewed a particular young man and asked the young man what strength he has. The young man said he can sleep when the storm is blowing. This is not the kind of person the farmer really is. He felt he wanted somebody who is strong, who can move when there is wind and storm. But the young man said that's his only skill. He can sleep when the storm is blowing. But when there's vast situation, because the farmer was desperate to recruit somebody, he hired him like that. The young man goes about his daily job every morning, every evening, particularly in the evening. Every time he tries to ensure that the farm is kept in such a way that in case there is any storm. So what he does typically is that he gets the animals and everyone to go into the barn, set everywhere, put all the ropes, ties everything up, particularly at night, in case there is any storm. He does it every day. And for many weeks, there was no storm, there was no rain. But one particular day, there was a heavy storm and rain. This young man, this time, was sleeping, completely sleeping, because he had created a system that whether there is rain or not, whether there is sun or anything, the farm will be intact. The farmer, on noticing that there was a heavy storm and rain, he jumps up and goes to the farm to say, hey, to get things done as he always does. But by the time he gets to the farm, to the main farm, I found out that everything was well packed, intact, kept safe. Then he remembered the words of the young man who said that he can sleep while the storm is raging. This is to tell you that preparation is important. Resilience. You must create a system for your business that is resilient, a system for your creative work that is resilient, whether or not things are going well, whether the tax law changes or not, something that shows your true worth. So let's go into, before the current tax law came up, what were the issues you were meant to do as an individual freelancer or as a contractor? Number one, you were required to file annual tax assessment, self-assessment of yourself. What is your self-assessment? right? You were meant to declare that this is total revenue I earned from my various gigs. But you know, you would have incurred a lot of expenses too in achieving those gigs too. You deduct those expenses, and the profit of it, you would declare it to your nearest taxation and say, I total gig I earned 8.5 million, total expenses 6 million, and total is 2.2 million, and you suffer pay on it. And guess what? On this filing you're doing it with your correct tax ID. What you were doing, what you were required to do in the previous tax law was you were meant to maintain a valid PID. You were meant to pay taxes pay taxes as a person. You were meant to pay tax to your relevant to in the state where you are resident. That was what the law requires as a freelancer and as a contractor. Number two, for a registered business, limited liability company, you are required to charge and remit VAT monthly if that service relates to VAT. If the contract signed is vatable, you see, I'm very specific. If the service is vatable, and if who you were doing the service with requires you to charge VAT, and what portion of the revenue of the inflow requires you to charge VAT, you are required to pay VAT monthly, or maybe stagger it and pay it anyway. You are meant to deduct and remit withholding tax from staff, from contractor people you use to run your projects, where you are required to do, or charge pay for clients staffs you have that are permanent staff. You are required to file annual returns, company income tax, and pay your CIT and other relevant taxes. You are required to pay every other statutory duty that you're meant to pay. The law has not. That's what you are required to do. For people who are registered business, who are maybe running their creative work under a registered name, like sole proprietorship business, you're only supposed to maintain a book of records, declare only your business profits, and on your business profit, you pay personal income tax. You can see in your own personal name, not in the name of the business, because you can't pay income tax in the name of a business name. You have to be in your own name. And then you're meant to comply to things simple like VAT, withholding tax, pay, even though you're a registered business. Let's go ahead. So what has changed under the new tax law? Number one, very quickly, the core law remains. Nothing really changed, but watch out particularly for freelancers. For freelancers, watch individuals who are earning 20 million and below based on the new tax law, you're going to pay lesser taxes from next year. From 2026, you're going to pay lesser taxes, right? That's it. That's a fact. If you want to know more details about how this will affect you as an individual, you can go and watch one of our videos, right, that we have done earlier, how to sleep soundly under the new tax regime, a guide for individuals. You can go and read the details of what you as an individual need to do to know more about this. One thing under the new tax law is that there is stronger coordination between the tax authorities, banks, and government agencies. There's increased awareness of what is expected, and there will be significant improvement in compliance. If you choose not to comply, then be ready to pay heavier bribes, and you may not know if the bribes you're paying are even more than the tax you should be paying. And then you will not be able to know the true worth of your great creative work. It was important to know that those people who are registered as limited liability companies, if your creative work is registered under a limited liability company, or you're collecting money under a company name, under a company brand, what will happen? If your revenue is 100 million and below, you'll be exempted from paying company income tax. Company income tax that means when you pay tax on the profits of that business, you'll be exempted. But bigger creative work businesses that are earning 50 billion and above, they'll be required to pay 15% minimum tax on their net income. And guess one new slice now that is going to happen for people, a lot of creative people who avoid VAT in the future, not in immediate from 2026. You'll be required to be filing what they call e-invoicing. It means for every invoice you issue, you have to do it in an e-way. in such a way that it will go into the government database, meaning you will not be able to hide your revenue. That's not happening in 2026 immediately for those who have total revenue of 5 billion and below. But from 5 billion above, you have to start that now. So is your system designed for e-invoice? Is what you should be watching out for. If not, you can imagine the massive tax liability you're going to pay. And you can imagine the massive bribe, the usual one you pay. It was important for me to let you know that the new tax regime is not about higher taxes. It is about visibility, structure, proactive compliance. Creative people who have created systems are those that will benefit really. There are certain noise people are making, and this may be for individuals. It's good you know this. They are saying that every inflow I receive from international payment platform like Amazon, YouTube, MasterCard, or that everything will be taxed. Nah, I don't think that's not true. And it's important we make that fact clear. Right? That's not true completely. It's not true. Why did we say it's not true? Tax payment is only applicable to net income. Tax payment is only applicable to net income, meaning that the creative person, valid expenses such as flights, hotels, rent, production, branding costs, things you use in achieving that particular fund you got from abroad, you are required to deduct it, even if you're an individual, and only pay tax on the net. But the issue is, do you keep those records? And that's why sometimes I do tell my creative friends, I like the individual guys. I say, why don't you aim through a personal registered brand so that you'll be able to coordinate between your brand expenses and yourself. So you separate your own personal expenses from your brand expense. So that's why you just register a small company and you can be earning money through it. Assuming you earn 100 million, you'll be free from paying CIT. And you will incur all your business expenses through it. And you will not still pay tax. So it's smarter at this time to structure well than just doing things freelancely. If not, you will cry on social media and nobody will answer you. People are also saying that media and entertainment companies that register as limited liability company will pay zero or significantly lower taxes from next year. I don't know if you get the fact I'm saying here. That's what people are saying. That creative industry people, because the current government likes creative people a lot, say they will not pay taxes or they will pay significantly lower taxes. Let me clarify it for you. One, media companies that are registered as limited liability companies and have a revenue of 100 million and below are exempted from paying company income tax of 30% on their profits. Or it's not even 34%. They'll be exempted. That is why it is important for you to structure your creative work well. In the creative industry, whether it's in film production, music production, running a show for someone, doing a big show, or creating a gig, all of those things. Sincerely, a lot of firms, consultants, they do not know the accounting for creative works. That is not all income. All inflows are coming to that is revenue, whether it is locally earned or foreignly earned. So one thing is clear that media and entertainment companies need to plan. See, understanding this fact saves you from unnecessary tax and burdens. And it helps you to know the true worth of your business, separating reimbursables, separating production fees from revenue that is attached to your brand, to your company. Do you know that you can even earn money that is not, you can even earn an amount fully that is not even something production fee, that is majorly the whole money is even revenue for you. And you can structure the contract in such a way that only 10% of it will be revenue. It's planning, it's from contracting. And the creative people have a lot they can do in planning to ensure that they sleep while the wind is blowing. And that is why structuring your creative work is super important. So, what do we need to do based on this new tax law? What do we need to do based on this new tax law? I want to speak first to the freelancer guys, right? What do you need to do, in my opinion? As a firm, I have seen, I took some of this recommendation from our current head of the creative industry at AideOne. And he told me certain things that for the freelancers, the few things they need to do. Number one, they need to maintain a consistent PID. If you are based in Lagos or any state, what's your PID? You need to maintain one. And it must be, you must know it. Number two, at the end of every year, January latest, you must file your annual returns. I've explained that earlier, and I've told you if you want to know more details, you can go and watch our video on what you must do to sleep soundly as an individual under this tax regime. Number three, you must include your PID on all invoices or on all contracts you are signing, so that when they are deducting withholding tax from you, they will know that they are paying it against that PID. Number three, if somebody has deducted withholding tax from you as an individual, you quoted 1 million, and they paid you 950, the remaining 50,000, you must ensure that you collect it. How? You must ensure that they have remitted it against your payer ID. See, even if you say no, it's 1 million, we want to collect last, and they grossed up the contract to an amount, with that grossed up amount, you must still pursue for the credit notes. You must still pursue for the credit notes, which is now e-copy. When you're filing your returns, you must remember that it's a net income approach you're using. This is your total earnings, total revenue you earned for the year, minus your business expense, the expense you used to hustle, to brand yourself, to become the brand that you are. Remove the expense legally. The remaining net is what you should pay your company income tax on. How do you do it? You just you can just go and check for tax calculator or ask questions, and we're glad to support you. What about for business owners? What should they do? One, critically evaluate the financial system in your business. Ensure that stakeholders of a business are getting value. The current system that you run as a limited liability business, do you think that system is viable? Do you think that system truly shows the true worth of your creative work? Does that system, does it help business owners or stakeholders in your business or bankers or creditors, people who give investment into your creative work? Do you think it helps in reporting to show the true worth of your business? Evaluate it today. So current limited liability company, is it structured? Is it tax proof against loopholes? As a business, you must structure your creative contract intentionally. I cannot overemphasize that. Engage professional firms and tax advisors who are not ready to play ball with the tax authorities, but who are ready to make you know your true worth of your creative work. Your creative work as a brand, and you yourself. If you're a very big creative industry company, ensure that you train your finance team on latest financial reporting standard, tax laws that release to the industry. You can get a firm to come and train them, or they can go to the firm and be trained. Choose the most suitable business structure. Yes. Stagger. Not every contract should you do on one particular company. In fact, you can decide to do a particular contract on another company, do another contract on another company. Maybe you can even do one with a registered name, no one and a limited liability company. Structure. Play. There's nothing wrong in paying the lowest minimum tax. What is wrong is you completely avoid evading tax. Avoiding tax is not wrong. Evading tax is what is wrong. But there's no way you can actually pay tax. There's no way you can actually pay the correct tax if you have not kept your books properly. Time your income and expenses strategically. It's possible. If, for instance, the total income your business should earn is 110 million, why should you let your business earn 110 million when you know that 100 million, anybody that earns 100 million and below is not going to pay what? CIT. You delay part of that remaining excess income, push it to next year. But it can only be done by strategic planning. Bring in expenses that will, legitimate business that will reduce your profits. Maintain meticulous records. The supporting document. I know in the creative industry, people don't like to keep records. They like to spend. But I can tell you, you can keep records, and it's very, very important. Really. Conclusion. Compliance protects earners. Proper records show true value. Strategic structuring enables and sustains growth of your creative work. That is very important. I feel like your creative work can flourish at this time. I feel strongly so. And I know we can have these conversations more and more over the next couple of time. Thank you.